We are now joined with Brian Nugent from the Restore Scotland party. So if you want to give a introduction, Brian.
Okay, well, Restore Scotland is a new party. It's our unique selling point is that we want Scotland to be independent. There are other parties that want to be independent, but unlike the other ones, we want to stay out of the European Union. We are developing policies to cover other issues, but we can say confidently that at this point anyway, we are not to blame for anything because we're so new.
So the first question, as it looks like we're coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic, what ideas do you have to help young people benefit from the recovery process?
Well, we had our manifesto launch on Thursday. Now that more and more people are getting the JAG, a lot of people are now onto the second JAG. We're looking to end mass lockdowns and to try for targeted protection. We have to get opened up. The shops need to open, restaurants need to open, people need to get back to work. The schools issue, schools have had a really strange year. They're open, seems to be working from a non-spreading COVID point of view as far as I know, but teachers and academics need to work out how to get students up to speed. Because of the school closures, there will be lots of students at all sorts of different levels because some don't have access to good IT at home. Other schools, other students will be struggling because some schools are better at online material than others, and there is the case that for some students learning online just isn't their way of learning. So what has got to be done for them? I know this is partly answering the next question, but I personally don't know, but I'm sure that the academics can, education academics can put their minds together and try and get people up to speed. The other big issue is that mental health facilities and resources need to be increased, made more readily available, and waiting times have to reduce. It's been, for me certainly, it's been a bit of a drag at times. So for some people, this would not have been a good time.
Yeah, as you've covered partly, the second question that we have was, as many people are saying that our generation of young folk is a generation which may become the lost generation. What can your party offer young people to prevent that?
Well, what I've got written down is repeat the comment on mental health issues, repeat the comments on education, and repeat comments about opening up again. That isn't a cop-out. I think, in fairness, I have covered, this second question in answering the first one as well. I can certainly see the issues as far as education is concerned and as far as mental health is concerned. You've just chosen to be this generation at an unfortunate time, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's a troubling picture to imagine for us going through, but if we persevere through this, we'll come out the other end stronger.
Well, let's all hope that that's the way it works for as many as possible.
Mm-hmm. So the third question on the table is, if you were First Minister for a day, what policies or laws would you bring in?
Well, I restricted myself to one policy, and that is to start an Insulate Homes programme. The SIC have been saying recently that there's a lot of people in Shetland who are struggling because of fuel poverty. The good thing about insulating homes is, one, it gets people into work, it makes homes warmer, saves money on energy bills, and over time, the less energy that's used, that would cut back on Shetland's carbon footprint. The one act I restricted myself to do was to repeal the EU Continuity Act, which is, as far as Restore Scotland is concerned, is a way for EU legislation to be sneaked into our law. We aren't in the European Union. Why we need an EU Continuity Act is beyond me.
Another question we have is, what were your main interests as a young person?
Well, I was a young person a long time ago. I loved the Victor comic. When it came out, I read it back to front. I see copies of the Victor on the internet for £5 a time. I should have kept my stock of comics as an investment. I enjoyed it. Victor doesn't exist anymore. I'm sure you realise that. I enjoyed playing football, but unfortunately I was hopeless. I tried a few marathons and quite a few half marathons. I lived on Albion Street in Coatbridge. Albion Rovers are the football team at the end of the street, so I support my local team. I enjoyed the Beatles, Mamas and Papas and Beach Boys, so musical songs. I do realise that all these names will mean, well, you've probably heard of them, but in a historical sort of way. Surprisingly enough, I did enjoy punk music, although not the sort of anarchy side of it. I did enjoy the energy that went into it. And gradually over time, I've grown to enjoy classical music. I was a teacher. Well, I was a lecturer at Shetland College, and I would be talking to the students, and I'd be saying, and then of course that happened. And of course, what had happened in my life wasn't what had happened in their life. So I know it's an easy trap to fall into, that younger people have no idea what you're talking about. Take my word for it, the Mamas and Papas and the Beach Boys were great.
Yeah, this is still interesting all the same.
Yeah. Do you think that the UNCRC rights of the child should be in Scots law and in local law?
Well, it appears that it's gone through most of the stages through the Scottish Parliament, and Leighton told me that the British government have taken the Scots Parliament to court over it. I can see just about why the British government feels that maybe the Scottish Parliament's overstepping its rights, but I've read the summary of the UNCRC, and all of the things that are there seem like perfectly reasonable things that should go into Scots law. I'm not entirely sure what you mean by local law. Are you talking about local government?
Yeah, into local government and the council level.
Right, okay. Well, again, all of the, I think it was 45 of them, the different, I'm not sure what each individual one, but the 45 of them all seemed perfectly reasonable, and the council should be looking to implement them as well, I would have thought.
Yeah, thanks for that. The Scottish Youth Parliament is a fundamentally rights-based organisation, and we've campaigned for the incorporation of the UNCRC into Scots law. for many years. So we do welcome that. Next question is on the climate. With Glasgow hosting the 2021 United Nations Climate Change Conference, how do you and your party plan to reduce the impacts we all have on climate change?
Well, at our launch on Thursday, which I mentioned, I think, did I send you, Leighton, the link to the manifesto?
Yeah, I got a copy of that. Thank you.
Right. Well, on that, the list of things includes introducing a staged ban on single-use plastics, looking at a limited expansion of hydroelectric power, investigating all forms of alternative green power, and mentioning again introducing a programme for insulating homes. There are so many good reasons for doing that. The last election, I remember it being an issue and people talking about it, and here we are again, another election, and it would appear nobody's done anything about it. So, as I said before, Restore Scotland are not to blame for anything. We are a new party. It's certainly something that we could implement to everyone's benefit. Another thing is all the motor manufacturing companies, they're all going over to producing electric cars. So there should be many more charging points set up. I visited my son in Hungary. He was working there as a teacher of English. And I visited the Audi factory there, and they reckon by 2025, most of the cars going out the door will be electric cars. So it's something that we've got to be ready for. Much longer term, in an attempt to replace diesel-hungry ferries, we've got to look at tunnels, and I'm talking specifically about the Shetland situation for that. But I'm sure there are many others many other places across the Highlands and Islands that could benefit from tunnels as well.
Yeah, they all sound like realistic things that should and probably need to be introduced throughout the next 5 years in Parliament.
That's the thing. I mean, we all know there's a big issue, and Greta Thunberg has brought it to the fore, but and maybe in the next election in 5 years' time, we'll be talking about insulating homes again. Somebody somewhere needs to get a grip and get things started. That's the way I would think about it.
So on to the next question. What were the key things you wanted to change about the place you grew up?
Well, I had to think hard about this, and I came up with nothing. In its time, Coatbridge is a town outside Glasgow. If you don't know, you would think it's part of Glasgow. Possibly you might think it's part of Airdrie. But basically, Coatbridge used to be called the Iron Borough. That's because it had so many iron producing factories. Coatbridge was basically a big industrial estate, lots of heavy industry. Even on the main street, it was famous for having a main street that had factory after factory after factory. This was coming to an end as I was growing up. So I had plenty of interest in empty factories and buildings to investigate. I was chased out of what was the old theatre by the police, because obviously it was a bit dangerous and all the rest of it. So they were doing their civic duty, and I was just being a nosy Parker. So we were lucky in the bit of Coatbridge we were in. We also had a couple of parks nearby. I'm sorry, I can't think of anything that I would want to change in Coatbridge.
I guess that's like wherever we grow up, you know, if it can be perfect in our eyes, you know. If you could have a dinner party with 3 people who are alive or dead, who in the world would they be and why?
Right. Well, first choice would be Pope John Paul II, who is dead. He became a religious student, ultimately a priest, bishop, cardinal, and then pope. He lived in Poland in a communist system that worked very hard against faith. And in a politically charged time in history, he was a bulwark for faith against the communist system. It's arguable that he was the right pope to be in place at the right time to help bring down the communist system. Some people probably won't see it that way, but I think he had a huge influence over the Polish people by the fact that he was the Pope in Rome and Polish and all the influence he had back home. Second choice, again, a dead person. And again, this is somebody you might have heard of, Tommy Cooper. He was a magician stroke comedian. He just had to walk on stage and I was doubled up laughing. His magic tricks often failed, but that was part of the act. That was deliberate. The saddest thing of all was that Tommy died on stage, but wonderful to watch. My last guest, I've chosen somebody that's alive. I've met Tony Green a few times, a really nice, really humble guy. When you meet your heroes, you want them to be nice people, and this guy is just great. He played for Albion Rovers, Blackpool, Newcastle, and Scotland. He was really talented as a football player, and his career was ended early by a knee injury. It's lots of stories and funny with it. He told me that everyone wants to talk to him about his short football career. Nobody wants to talk about his second, longer career as a maths teacher. And who wants to talk about trigonometry? Let's be fair. I hope neither of you two are maths buffs, are you?
No, far from it.
Okay, well that's good because I was okay until they introduced 3C, and that threw me, and then trigonometry I was lost, completely lost.
So sounds like a very entertaining night.
Well, it would be. I think it would be a great night. Yeah.
If you were elected to represent Shetland, will you promise to work with the members of the Scottish Youth Parliament?
Well, yes, that's an easy promise to make. Obviously, as I haven't been an MSP in the past, I don't know how it works between the MSPs and the members of the Youth Parliament, but that particular promise is easy to make. Yes, I would do my best to work with you.
And that brings us on to the final question. Why should young people in Shetland vote for you? Well,
if they want Scotland to be independent, if they want Scotland to be out of the European Union and stay out, obviously I was young once. I think I have an idea of some of the issues affecting young people, and my children are in their 20s, and don't you worry, they keep me on the ball. My youngest is a student, and some of what I said about the education issues has been fed in by her, because a course that should have involved a lot of going, visiting sites and stuff like that, ended up everything's online, and I think she said most of the time the material was good enough, but every now and again there would be the odd issue. I haven't said anything specific, I don't think, why young people. I would just hope in general they might feel that Restore Scotland, and you can find us at restorescotland.org, that we have a programme that you might be interested in.
Thank you so much for your time today, and we look forward to speaking to you again soon.